It's Tuesday, August 18th, 2015. I'm Rim.
I'm Scott.
And this is Geeknights. Tonight, somehow, we've never done a show on Dance Dance Revolution.
We sort of have.
So here we go.
Let's do this.
Well, in 2006, you were correct, we did a show where we reviewed games that we played on the Wildwood Boardwalk that
I actually saw
summer.
2 such shows in the archives there.
Which one was the other one? Because the one I found, we specifically reviewed Time Crisis 4, DDR Supernova, and some other game.
There were 2 in there, but they were pretty much like none of them were dedicated DDR shows where we talked about nothing but DDR. And
I feel
obviously, there's much to say about DDR.
Yeah. In fact, we did a panel on DDR at a PAX a long time ago. It was one of our, we do 3 rapid fire
DDR
panels.
was just mentioned. It wasn't about DDR.
Well, it was Games Are Mind Control, where we talked about rhythm games.
Yeah.
And as I recall, when we did the panel, I realized that I had another hour's worth of stuff to say about DDR.
Sure.
But yeah, so we're at an amazing wedding in a giant, non-wedding due to crazy inside joke circumstances. But we were out in the woods in this giant house that is pretty much the house from Phantasmagoria. And here's what I'd say.
It was much smaller than any sort of Resident Evil video game type house.
That is true, but
7th Guest Maniac Mansion type house.
the rooms that it had and the layout of those rooms and several specific features are so deeply reminiscent of the stuff in Phantasmagoria that when I saw them as a kid and as an adult watching that Let's Play of it, I couldn't believe they'd exist. I couldn't imagine a house that was physical and real that had a structure like that in them.
Go to old houses.
But I never seen that giant fish radiator on top of the stove, the heater in the upstairs, or what used to be a stage for what I presume was a bordello that is now a linen closet.
You're just going to presume the most awesome thing, obviously. But this is because obviously you didn't live in a rural area, so you didn't go to houses like that.
I've been to old houses like that before.
But
there's a lot of old manor houses all
Sure.
over Detroit.
If you go to summer camp, right, every summer camp has this house at the center of it. That's the camp's house, right? Where the cafeteria is usually in there, or the mess hall or whatever.
Yep,
and
Camp Nehelu had that.
the offices, those sorts of things, right? And those center houses at summer camps are always that kind of house.
But
Always, universally.
It was mostly the stage, because that was there is a room.
Oh, the no longer stage?
The stage with the weird, unfitting wall in front of it to turn it into something
Except
else.
the stage wasn't there anymore. It was just the wall with a door in it.
Yep.
Yeah.
But that exact thing is in Phantasmagoria, and there is a stage behind it. And there's a murder machine back there. There wasn't a murder machine in this one. There was just a linen closet. So.
I also found the attic stairs behind that.
But at this wedding, we had a very important group of people together. We had the original 4 people it was me, Scott, our friends Pete and Alex. When we found Tigris
Me and our friends,
Euphrates,
Pot Bull.
Yep. Scott is
Pot Lion.
Yep. Bull is clearly superior because once again, Bull is the winner.
Archer is king.
Archer didn't win. In fact, Archer wasn't even in second place.
The only one with human intelligence, the Archer.
However, I think if you had just an Archer versus just a Bull, and the Bull's goal was to fuck up the Archer, I think the Bull would win.
Dude, people kill bulls without even the bow. They just stab the arrows right into the bull.
Yeah, you try that.
With their hands.
Let's hand you.
So if you got a bow, it's going to be way easier because the bull can't get even close to you.
Yeah, but I've seen horrible videos of bullfights. They'll get 15 arrows into that bull, and this isn't even slowed down.
Because they didn't get it. If you got a bow, you can shoot the arrow so hard it can go right through the skull in the brain.
Nah, probably not, actually.
If you're good at aiming.
With that kind of bow. Plus, this is a Mesopotamish bull and a Mesopotamish bow.
Well, that means the bow is mad weak compared to a Spanish one, but
Yeah.
also to match the weakness of the bow so it evens out.
Now, that bull is probably just as badass as a modern bull.
Who says?
I'm pretty
Mesopotamian
sure-
animals going to be mad weak. It's not going to eat
I'm pretty sure
It's
Mesopotamish
not
bulls.
eating modern corn and shit.
Yeah, that Mesopotamish bull is probably fucking dangerous, and that
No.
Mesopotamish bow is probably some BS.
Also, I could just drown that motherfucker in the Tigris.
Yeah, or the Euphrates. But anyway,
They're
so
right there.
I think we did a show on this, but how we found Tigris and Euphrates and everything, but it remains after so many years to the point that it was forgotten and re-released recently. Tigris and Euphrates might be our
Well, it
favorite.
just went out of print, and then the license was bought by a different company.
It was pretty widely forgotten, though. There was a lot of PAXs where
The
I'd
new
be like,
printing is, by the way, worse than the old printing.
it's better in a few ways and worse in the majority of ways.
Right.
But
I mean, it's still perfectly playable.
like, it amazes me that, I am very fickle in my taste in games, and that I pretty much will read the rules to a game and be done with it before I finish reading them. But Tigris and Euphrates has somehow remained my favorite tabletop German-style game ever, and remains so to this day, despite constant play. But we had the alumni together, probably some of the most expert players of this game in the world. And we played a game
That we know.
that we haven't played in a long time. And so sublime is the feeling of playing a game with 3 other people who have just as much experience, expertise, and knowledge in a game as you, and literally just sitting down, setting it up without saying a word, and playing a super intense, fast game. Game took like an hour, and I won pretty handily.
You won with 3 tie breaks.
Yes, with Alex.
That is not handily.
Yes,
handily is like, I have a wide margin.
I was on the 3rd tie break with Alex. You and Pete, not really contenders.
I got into a really bad situation.
Yeah, you did.
Where I was able to devastate opponents, but I was able to get my leaders back on the board, but the particular arrangement of my leaders back on the board put them in the kingdoms that did not have the matching monuments. So I was not able. So while I was able to hold position, I was not able to hold the correct position.
Meanwhile,
and then there was no way to move because you can't swap leaders. And at the beginning of the game, I had a fistful of red tiles, so I used it to my advantage and put pressure early. And then later in the game, I had no red tiles to speak of, and only internal conflicts were available. So that was
partly because there was a lot of
and my
walling
catastrophes had already been spent, because that's how I got into that position in the first place, was by early attack.
It was interesting because it was a game where you see like 3 gigantic kingdoms with literally a 1 square channel separating them across half the board. And there was a wall of catastrophes at one point. It was a great game. But I'm pretty sure the only reason I won, the sole reason, is in that 3rd round where I did that internal conflict with 5 red tiles and took Pete's kingdom.
Yeah, pretty much.
The leader that I put in that spot did not move and sat there for literally the entire game, was never contested and never in a conflict.
It wasn't possible for me or anyone to contest that.
Yeah, because I walled it off, so you couldn't even do an internal, and no one wanted to do an external because by then, like green points, that pretty much won me the game. That single conflict in the beginning, and the fact that no one attempted to
you're
dethrone
discounting
me.
all the things that led up to your ability to make that conflict, right?
Yeah, in the 3rd turn, I had 5 red tiles in my hand.
Right.
But you know how I had 5 red tiles in my hand? I started with 4 red tiles in my hand. I played the bare minimum of them, and then the next turn, I played 2 non-red tiles, basically. It was the 4th or 5th turn, actually, not the 3rd turn. I'm thinking back to the game.
Anyway.
T&E is a great game.
Sure.
So you got any gaming news?
So this company, I read a news this morning about a company that just launched called Fig. It's named after, like, some hall, like Figueroa Hall or something. That's a place that people hang out after E3 for parties or eating or something. I'm not sure what the deal is. But anyway, what this company does is basically Kickstarter for games, except you get to actually invest in the game somehow and actually get a return on your investment for reals. Not just, you can still do the Kickstarter thing where you back the game and get t-shirts or goodies or whatever like normal, but you can also back and real invest for reals without having to be accredited or anything. So
now, I am really excited if this works, but also it is a complicated thing to do legally.
Yeah, this seems some kind of shady, kind of what's going on here.
It's a game changer if it works, though.
Sure, much investigation has to be done into this. I would not give them even 1 penny until we are 100% sure that this is legit and for reals. But shortly after reading the news about the creation of this thing, and
I learned something just now. You know how this works?
There's a new law, right?
The Obama thing, the Jobs Act.
Right? Yeah, they made it the what you need to do for accredited investing has changed. So that was what allowed this to exist. But anyway, a very important person announced shortly after these news articles went up that they are working there, and that person is Heels, who used to be the person who ran programming at PAX.
I think I
and
would
just
describe
left.
his job as impresario of PAX.
Sure, well, not anymore. His job is now something we don't know at Fig.
Yeah.
So the fact that he is working there, a person that we know, A, lends it some credibility, and B, means we can get a lot of information about this place because we know a person who works there. So we are, that
Meanwhile, like we know people at Oculus, they don't tell us shit.
Sure.
So.
Well, I mean, it doesn't matter. It's like we're going to get the lowdown on this deal. So, and also we know a lot about games. If there's
If this
any,
is legit, you don't realize how.
there are two possibilities.
Fuck Scottrade.
Yeah, possibility one. This is a total bad thing. Fuck them, and we're gonna tell you so you won't get ruined by it. Or B, we're all gonna make money, bro.
Yeah, because I actually kind of
We
recently.
will all work together to make money.
I kind of recently liquidated all my Amazon and Take-Two Interactive stock just because they were way high, and I figured might as well take some profits.
I don't want to sell anything because then I have to pay taxes.
So you got to do a wash to you got to sell something that you're losing money on, and then buy it back at a low price later.
Okay.
So here's the example. I own a. This is depending on where you live. This may or may not be illegal. It depends. There's a lot of. Do not take stock advice from me. But theoretically, what you can do in some situations is say I got a stock that's making a ton of money, like it's up 400%.
So you bought it at $50 and now it's $200.
But I had another stock I bought at 200 that's now at 50.
Oh, that sucks.
So sell them both.
All right, so now I've got the same amount of money I started with.
And then buy back the stock that lost money.
The cheap one that's at 50 now?
So now you realized a big gain and a big loss, and they cancel each other out.
Okay, so why even, if you're selling the one at 50 and then buying it right back, why even do that? Why not just sell the big one and buy the cheap one? What's the point of selling the cheap one and buying back the same exact shares you just sold?
Well, because they're two separate transactions. You sell the big one, and you have to pay taxes on that.
Yes.
But the way these taxes work is you pay taxes on everything you gained minus everything you lost that year.
Oh, so if you sell the cheap one and buy it right back, you still had losses because you sold.
Yes. Now, some places have laws that
The
say you
problem
gotta
is
wait.
you just didn't make any fucking money, though.
Except you did
Because now you have twice as many
you were
shares.
gonna hold on. Because this is assuming you were gonna hold on to that stock that's down, knowing that it's eventually gonna go back up.
So now you have double the shares of or many more of the shares of the cheap one.
You basically make all the money from the big stock that did well
You're
without
but you're
paying
still
any
you are
taxes on
still
it.
gambling, hoping that the cheap one that is currently cheap goes back up.
And pretty much, I only invest in things. Again, do not take stock advice from me. I'm not all that stuff.
But dude,
I pretty much only I'm what you call a contra investor. I invest in things that have dropped for reasons that I think are stupid. Like when there was that big breaks, like when I made a lot of money, like way back and like started investing, I bought Toyota when the stock collapsed after that, like the accelerator scandal where like the cars would accelerate and kill people. Because I was confident that was solely caused by old people and floor mats.
pretty much.
And turned out I was right, and the stock came back, and I made a boatload of money. And then I invested all that money in Hasbro because ponies.
Or like the earnings of some company are down this quarter just because the stock they didn't meet estimates, so the stock market punishes them. But it's like that company's doing just fine. In fact, they're doing great. They've got all these good business plans, and this product is going to be very successful. That they've talked about.
Like, Take-Two, a game company.
The stock just went down because maybe the stock market in general went down, and some bullshit financial nonsense.
Well, Scott, here's a good example. Take-Two's way down. Oh, look, no big games came out this year. What's come out next year? Oh, the new Grand Theft Auto? Stock people don't know shit about this. Buy stock.
Yep.
And that's worked out real well.
You're buying it far enough in advance because you're going long term. They're going short term. They're only looking at what's like the next month. They don't want to hold anything for more than like a day, right? So.
But, basically, looking at this, if this is legit and real, I know a fuck ton more about games than I do about stocks.
Sure.
So.
Anyway, do you have any news?
I have a minor news. So PAX is next weekend.
It is.
And next week.
It is.
PAX Dev is Wednesday, Thursday. PAX Prime is Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday. Me and Emily gonna be at the whole shebang.
The PAX. Not a PAX, the PAX.
Yeah, this isn't like fucking Ravenna. This is Rome.
That's right.
And the full schedule is now on the website.
Yeah, it was.
Keynote, everything.
Everything. Who is that keynote?
The keynote is, I actually have not had a chance to look at the schedule yet. Whoa, there's all this stuff scheduled before the keynote. Weird.
Anyway.
Okay. Storytime with Kim Swift.
Who is
10-year
Kim
veteran
Swift?
of the game industry and mildly internet famous game developer. Gets lots of questions of what she does for a living, how games are made, why as creative. Storytime delves into the complexities of game development using commonly asked
It's a
questions
generic description.
and misconceptions about games. She's currently the senior game designer at Amazon Game Studio.
Oh, Amazon. They're doing some weird stuff going on at Amazon Game
Yeah.
Studio. I'd be interested to hear what's going on there.
I got to look into that article. I'm going to talk about this on the next Monday show, but that article about how Amazon works people to death.
Yeah, well, Amazon's trying to do something similar with games that they do with like their original TV shows, right?
Yeah, which that's also kind of a game changer, but the Twitch boat is not the Google, YouTube live streaming gaming boat. So I don't know what's going on. I don't know what's going on in this space. Like, I
Yeah.
can't predict, but I'm going to talk about that more on Monday.
Mm.
A Monday, not next Monday. We'll be at PAX. Things of the day. The audio of this is from a College Humor skit, but the little animatic is from Steven Universe. With the two combined, Scott wouldn't appreciate it, but if you've watched Steven Universe, you will.
I'll see you soon enough.
It's pretty funny. It's that don't touch my shit thing. Remember, like you too are capable of not touching my shit.
Okay.
It's an ode to a roommate from another roommate, but with Peridot, a character you have not met yet.
All right.
It's really funny.
So this blog on the website unseen64.net, they have a blog there, and there's one particular category of leaks. You can explore the whole blog if you want, but this website specializes in showing you unreleased beta, never finished video games that you may or may not have even known were ever a thing. And
That is some hot shit right there.
it is really fucking interesting. Some of them you can even play. Like, I mean, this stuff in here, like a Dune Ornithopter game for the GBA, a Lufia game for the Genesis. Like, they are digging up crazy shit thanks to developers who worked on these things, saw them get canceled, and then, still had materials and are now spilling them onto the webs. So, and, it's like most of these are not a big enough deal to like make the regular gaming news sites. But you come here and it's like, wow, if you someone who knows about video games, you're going to care about this. I don't know why I didn't know about this earlier.
Yeah, they're already just flipping through this. Some interesting gems.
Right. All right, the meta moment, PAX.
We are going to be there on multiple days playing games, but we have two panels. We are doing the far future of gaming, and we are doing sports are games. Extra topical, especially now, what with esports and doping and all this business that's going on.
Yep.
Also, the book club book is still Fantasy Book the Novel, part 1 of what, 7? 9?
Of a lot.
How
I'm almost
many?
done.
I do not know how many there are.
Many.
Okay. So,
The Eye of the World
They
by
just got
Robert
to-
Jordan.
I just got to the point where they just got to Camelin.
I'm already almost done with Camelin.
No. Yeah, they just got there. Annoying guy is a little less annoying. Still kind of hope he dies, but if he lives but just goes away, I'd also be okay with
You
that.
mean guy who stole a dagger?
Yes, dagger guy.
Okay, yeah.
I mean, that dagger's obviously cursed. Like 100% that dagger is cursed. It's like every time they talk about him,
That's
it's
not
like,
a secret. They pretty much tell you that it's
but it's like there's an asterisk next to his name. It's like he who carries the cursed dagger and is gonna fucking stab someone with it suddenly. Meanwhile, why didn't they keep that dagger that the one assassin had? The one that had like the flame blade
Maybe it's even more cursed.
in the stable.
I don't know.
I don't know. It seems like a powerful weapon. I
Also,
mean,
didn't it set on fire or something?
well, the blade was hot, so I
Yeah.
don't know. I don't know if it does that all the time. Maybe they don't know the power word to turn it off or whatever.
I don't know. But anyway, that's the end of that. There's not really much to say because we're too preoccupied with PAX and the meta times. So let us move on to Ye Show.
So on November 21st, 1998, a momentous thing happened that I did not know about. Dance Dance Revolution was released in Japan. And we did not discover Dance Dance Revolution until the year 2000.
This is not entirely true. I knew that there was a game called Dance Dance Revolution in perhaps 99 or even earlier 2000. And I knew that it was a game that involved dancing on 4 arrows.
Yeah, I mean, I think I'd heard of it, but
And I thought it was, not knowing anything other than that about it, I thought it was stupid. But you know what? I thought like Pokemon was some stupid kids game before I ever played it. So,
Yeah, I
But
thought a lot of
it's
things.
just like, oh, Nintendo's got a new franchise. It's some kids' garbage, whatever.
Yep. So Dance Dance Revolution was this thing that we kind of just ignored.
I was like in middle school or high school or something. What did
Plus,
I know?
in the U.S., like that shit was not available.
No,
Hey.
well, they did release a U.S. dance machine that just said Dance Dance Revolution on it. That had it was one player and included a very limited crappy song selection.
It had like 12 or something songs on it. It did because of licensing reasons. It also, I'm pretty sure that came out later, and I never encountered it until 2001 when I went to Cedar Point, and there was a single U.S. mix Dance Dance Revolution machine at the front of an arcade, and I spent an entire evening playing it. So, if you've never played DDR, it's that game with 4 arrows, and you just dance to music on those 4 arrows.
Now, this seems really freaking stupid, right? A lot of people say things such as, that's not real dancing, right? Well,
yeah,
it's
because Counter-Strike's not real shooting.
Right, exactly. It also is just, at the time when it came out, it's like, so you step on the 4 arrows, and it's just like, what?
And there had been...
When I saw it, I was like, that is the dumbest thing I've ever seen. Why are you guys playing this?
And there had been rhythm games before in various forms that I just always thought were stupid. Like, I'd always thought those kinds of games were stupid.
Yep.
They were just like whack-a-mole. Just music-based whack-a-mole. They're always dumb.
I mean, the arcades always had the spider stomping game. What's the difference?
Exactly. So, and to cut the anecdote short, we were at RIT and the anime club in the gaming club's like event. There was like this overnight thing had set up.
I don't think the gaming club existed yet then.
Yeah, it did.
Oh, I mean,
Yeah,
RWAG?
RWAG.
Oh, okay.
Not EGS.
Oh, okay.
That came way later. In fact, video games used to be mostly the purview of RWAG and the anime club.
I thought it was Springfest or Social Night or whatever.
Yeah, it was one of those things. Remember, we'd always
I think it was a purely anime club event because the anime club had purview over things that were Japanese, including Japanese video games. So they had things such as Card Captor Sakura Tetris.
Yeah, but
right?
that is also why when RWAG had DDR, the anime club would set the TV up for it.
Sure.
Like weird RIT
also
club
because
politics.
the people in the anime club were the people who owned modded or Japanese PlayStations.
Yep. So they set it up.
At a time when the PlayStation new was brand fucking new.
And Scott and I were walking past it, and we just kind of made fun of it, and I thought it was stupid, and kind of made fun of the people playing it, and left. And then Scott went and played a big D&D game, as I recall.
I was playing a big D&D
and
game.
I decided, well, I'll play this thing, whatever.
Because everyone was way into it, and we were poo-pooing it, and Rim went to play it.
So fast forward like 4 hours, Scott comes back from D&D. I'm still playing it, and I'm like, Scott, you gotta get over here.
And I'm like, I'm pretty sure that's the stupidest thing I've ever seen, but I must not knock if I have not tried.
And then like 4 hours later, me and Scott are both playing it, and then I immediately got a PS1 and modded it to play this game. I ordered pads, and we've been playing DDR ever since.
So usually, if people ask me what the best game, period, ever is, right? I usually say something like Super Metroid, or Mega Man 2, or Zelda 1, or Zelda 3, and I don't know if I really want to change my Super Metroid answer, but I'm leaning more and more towards saying DDR. And
Well, what was that panel at a PAX where the audience was like adding and removing games from a top 10 like most important games ever list?
yeah, and the smart guy who made Spy Party added DDR to the list, and me and Rim were like, woo!
And the rest of the audience was like, what?
Right. Anyway, so let me talk about DDR as the best game ever, because DDR, the reason I think it might be the best game ever is that anything that you would say is a thing, like think about the list of things that make a game good. DDR has all of them, right? Super Metroid is not one of the best games there is of all time. It's so high up the list, it can't possibly be lower than top 5 on the list of anyone who's not a moron. But it doesn't have everything.
It doesn't have rhythm.
All right, so, okay, no.
Yeah.
All right, so let's think about the things that make a game really good. So, competition.
You
okay?
can have it. You can play against another person in some direct fashion.
Yeah, Super Metroid has that with like a speed run, but mostly not. So, DDR, you can compete against the person next to you. You can compete against them in many different ways. Score. Can you even beat this song that I beat on this difficulty level? No, you can't.
Yep.
I beat, right?
Grade, maybe.
Yep. Style. Like, oh, the people are cheering for me and not for you. Right?
There's that battle mode that was kind of dumb, but it was okay.
Sure. So DDR has real competition that like is legit. DDR also has music and atmosphere and immersion and all the you think about it, games that have like stories, like Half-Life, where you like get involved in it, right? Okay, so DDR doesn't have a narrative story. It has an even better story. DDR has a story in the way that NFL football or NHL ice hockey has a story.
Maybe Rock Band?
Sort of, maybe, right?
Going up through the ranks as a rock star?
But it's like, you get up on the DDR pad, right? And there's lights and there's sounds, right? Pumping, right? You feel like you're in the club, right? You get this whole immersion thing going on. And then you get the story of, Rim was dancing that one time at the beach and those girls were asking him.
Oh, yeah.
Or, those people behind were taking pictures. Or, he beat the ridiculously hard song and the other person passed out.
DDR is one of those games that people just playing it
or you
can draw a crowd.
Yeah, you went to that, that time that you went to, that DJ 8-Ball pretended he was hurt.
Oh,
but
my
then
God.
he did an crazy performance involving the cane on the dance pad.
We used to go searching for, in the era before YouTube, videos of DDR championships.
Yeah, I would download videos of DDR.
I still have that video of DJ 8-Ball.
Right? So DDR has story. It has music, obviously. The whole the aesthetic aspect of it is full power.
Well, hell,
right?
so look at design, right? It's a rhythm game, and these things were not well designed up until this point. Like now,
in fact, the original DDR was not well designed. It took until the third or really the fourth mix.
It was fourth mix because third still had flat arrows.
Exactly. Fourth mix
in
was
SSR
where
mode.
they added features after the fourth mix, but they perfected the core of DDR in the fourth mix. That's where DDR became real.
So the thing that matters the most is that there's a ranking system. Well, two things. There is a ranking system, a number of feet that is like a metric of how difficult a song is.
Mm-hmm.
Those numbers are one of the best designed ranking difficulty systems I've ever seen, because I can look at a DDR song and say that's a 5, that's a 6.
Yep.
And it's like rock climbing or skiing. Like the grades are very well defined and mean very specific things to an expert. So there's a very clear progression for a player, and you always feel like you're progressing. And the upper end of that, the upper limit of that, is above 99% of players' abilities. So you'll never hit the end.
Yep.
Like, there are very few people who can hit the end of DDR.
So, also...
but the other thing, the design of the game itself, the way it teaches you how to play, the arrows have a color, like they're cycling color, but they cycle in time with the music through these colors so that they are, yellowish or purplish or whatever color, depending on whether note they'll be on a quarter note, eighth note, 16th note, whatever, when you're supposed to step on them. So it kind of trains your brain. So you play it a lot, your brain just sees arrows and your feet just move, and there is literally no thought whatsoever.
Yep. There might be like a pattern you're trying to figure out, and you figure it out eventually, and you do a little bit of conscious thought, and then once you've muscle memorized it, you're done. Because DDR is also a sport.
Yeah.
Right?
The first time I beat like a fast, hard song when I did Dropout, I fucking almost passed out. I literally fell off the pad and collapsed and laid there heaving.
You practice and, you build your skills and your muscles and your muscle memory, right? In the same way that you learn to throw a baseball or swim, the breaststroke, or anything like that.
Yep, like people who are better than you, there's like this culture of, no, man, dance that pattern like this. Or, no, you gotta, there's a point where you learn to twist your hips instead of trying to step on all the things with the same foot.
DDR has a community, that has grown and shrunk over the years, but it just naturally, the way it is made, it builds a community. Even just, there could be a community around a single machine, or as DDR as a whole, or even around like just aspects of DDR. Like there'll be the people who make notes in Step Mania for other songs that aren't official. There's a community for that. There's a community for people who are trying to just compete and see who can do the hardest songs in the most perfect scores.
I used to hang out on the DDR Freak forums, and I was a regular poster as well.
Yeah, a community for people who build DDR pads because buying them kind of sucks, especially now.
Well, considering Red Octane is gone, which are the only people who made good DDR pads.
All right. DDR also has an important aspect which many other games do not have, especially not competitive games, is that it offers the ability for self-expression. If you look at a game like, Minecraft, in Minecraft you can have self-expression, right? You're creating this work of art. There's not a lot of competition in Minecraft. In Magic the Gathering, you can have self-expression. You sort of make your deck as an expression of yourself. Any sort of customizable game, Netrunner offers that too, right?
Yep.
The self-expression and the competition. But they don't offer the sport or, the immersion with the sound pumping and the graphics and the crew, right?
Like those subtle moments where you turn your back on the screen and dance and facing the crowd and wink at some girl who's watching. Like
Right.
that's fun stuff.
DDR offers all the things at once. It is the only game that has ever done this that I know
Well, you know
of.
what? Get back to your competition thing. This is a game where a beginner and an expert can play against each other on the same machine
Side by side at the same time with no problem.
and totally both have fun because I think we talked about this in that PAX panel too. You get 2 scores when you dance. Now, things have changed between all the versions, but say I'm doing a Maniac song and someone we know who hasn't played much is doing a basic song, but we do the same song. We dance next to each other. I just have more arrows. You get a
your
letter.
score will be higher because your combos will probably be bigger from having more arrows.
But the letter grades are based on how well you do relative to that level.
Right,
and
if
the
they
number of
hit every
arrows.
arrow perfectly and you mess up a bit, you'll probably get an A and they'll get an S. And they'd be like, I did better. It is a built-in handicap like bowling and golf.
Yeah, the game puts prominent focus on the score relative to what you are attempting in your ability, but it also gives you the absolute score where my score is multiple orders of magnitude above yours just because, I had a lot more arrows to hit.
And even for just something that's a rhythm game where you stomp on some plastic, right? It still has this sort of mystery and aura of secrets and excitement that you get from you play Zelda 1 and you find a secret or you open up that 8th dungeon and the music is different. It's like, whoa. DDR has that. Even in the arcade, songs unlock. Or there's different modes, or if you hold down buttons, you can open up the menu and get access to different settings.
And you'd see this. There's weird, when I'd go to a machine, when we were younger, and there'd be the people, the community in the arcade, and we'd do a song, and then they'd get up there, and then, like Scott said, they hold some buttons down, and different shit would happen.
Yeah.
They get these weird menus, and we didn't know what that was at the time, so we'd watch them and then try it and try to figure out what they were doing.
It's there's a lot, you buy DDR at home, and it's who's that mysterious character when it still had characters?
Boldo!
Right, it's then you unlock the cowgirl in DDR 5th mix. It's whoa! It's crazy shit goes down.
Yeah. But the game, I feel like its peak in the US was around
First half of 2000 to 2005.
Yeah, 2002-3 was I think the biggest because that's when
it started
every
to
arcade had
fade.
it.
Yep, pretty much.
Every arcade.
After 2005, 2006, that's when it was fading, and around that time. It's about 5 years-ish. The thing is, DDR was so big, if you meet someone, right, and it's people really aren't playing DDR a lot now. They still are, but not a lot. But you bring DDR up, and if there's a person who played it, I'm constantly shocked about how often DDR will come up, and a person that we didn't know played DDR would be like, oh, DDR.
Yeah.
Whoa, I played that. Let's play right now. We got it. Let's throw down.
We have repeatedly busted out the pads and a bunch of strangers start playing DDR together.
And people, they still got it, just like a bicycle. They don't have full power, but they can pedal. They can get up the hill.
It also kind of helps that most of the music in DDR, especially 4th mix, 5th mix, 6th mix era, is the kind of dance music I like anyway.
Yeah, I mean, I
And-
guess there are people who don't like that music. Music is taste, but
Well, then they can do. They can dance
DDR has the
Paranoia.
kind of music that I will listen to even when not playing DDR, right?
Yeah, that kind of 90s dance pop.
If
sort
you're
of
talking
stuff.
about best music in video games ever, it's Mega Man 2, DDR.
Yeah, Symphony of the Night is up there too.
Sure, but it's pretty much Mega Man 2 DDR.
Yeah.
The music in DDR is that good. I mean, obviously it varies by which mix you're playing, right? It just keeps coming out with new mixes, but we played mostly in the fourth plus 5th mix era.
Yep.
But I mean, that doesn't mean that the other mixes are no good. We just haven't played them a whole ton. But whenever I do go up to one and play it, I can always find a good song in there. And I'm sure if I actually played those newer mixes a whole bunch, I'd find a lot of good songs.
Only trouble is they changed the foot ranking system in the newer mixes.
You
to be
just,
a lot
I mean,
more
it's still
granular,
good. You just got to get used to it.
But I don't know it at all. 'cause
Right.
I just have trouble.
It's just a matter of not knowing. It's not a matter of less quality.
Yeah. But you can kind of tell what era someone came from by what they call the different difficulties. Because remember, it was basic, trick, maniac, and then light, standard, heavy, and then they changed it again in the X series. I don't even know what it's called anymore. There was Oni mode for a while when we used to play at that bowling alley.
Yeah.
Yeah, remember the bowling alley at RIT? That Dodge. I don't think anyone in that bowling alley liked the fact that we were there. Bunch of young, rowdy kids on a DDR machine surrounded by like sad 40-year-olds on a league night.
I went to that bowling alley for bowling class.
As did I. I got pretty good at bowling when I took that class just because I bowled every week.
Yeah.
And then after I stopped taking the class, my score went back down to sub 100.
Well, maybe if we lived somewhere that had a combination laundromat bowling alley, we could get better at bowling.
Yeah, because I was doing like a 190, pretty like on average. I'd get about 180, 190 without any trouble, which not great, but not terrible. Oh.
Anyway. So yeah, DDR, by any measure of things that make a game good, DDR ranks very highly across the board. Whereas other amazing games, even if they rank amazingly, they don't do everything. DDR is like the all-encompassing game. It does it all.
I know a lot about the internals of old systems, like how they upgraded. Like, the arcade machine would be upgraded version to version. And then, like, there are different versions of the hardware and these laser discs you put in and all that. But you can read a website if you care about that stuff. But the important thing, the pure and true form of this game is the arcade machine. All other forms, while good, are inferior in many, many ways. Those pads, if well maintained in the arcade, are so perfectly sensitive. Like, you can just stand on an arrow and shift your weight to get it to register at the right timing. Like, it's kind of nuts how well it works.
If you play at home, I mean, the railing, you're not supposed to hold the railing. The railing is to keep you from falling off onto the people behind you watching you.
Or perhaps to do a trick.
Yes.
Or perhaps to fall off the bar trying to do a trick.
And while you should not hold on to it, the lack of its presence at your home is a deficiency.
Also, like, arcade is the best. The next step down is a custom or cobalt blue hard pad, which just aren't as sturdy. Like, I kind of want to see if I can, well, I can. I haven't thought about doing it because they're heavy. I kind of want to buy an arcade pad replacement and use an Arduino or something to hook it up and use it with USB.
Go for it.
I've been thinking about doing that. That's a big project, though, because those things are huge. Like, bigger than the table in our kitchen.
It's just really, I've been looking for old DDR machines. It's not easy to find them.
I found one like a couple months ago for about $4,000 or $5,000. It was a fourth mix machine it looked like it was in pretty good condition too, but where am I going to put it? Scott's house? The other Scott?
No.
Scott Johnson?
Yeah, Scott Johnson.
He hinted that he might be willing to host a DDR machine if we bought it. Maybe we should take him up on that.
Why don't we rent one for a party?
I don't even know who do those companies that'll rent arcade machines still exist?
Well, who lends them to Kineticon and MagFest?
I don't know. Well, I know one group that does, but I think they're not easy to rent for like just us and just one machine. They like to bring the whole experience, as far as I can tell.
I'm sure we can work something out.
I made a hard DDR pad a long time ago. It worked okay, and then I broke it, and then I threw it away. But like, I spent like a month building this thing. It was kind of awesome. Like, I learned a lot about electrical stuff. I used the board from a soft pad that had died to actually make it, because that was basically a PlayStation 1 controller with a bunch of things I could solder like wires into.
If you think about the impact DDR had in its day, right, and on the lives of anyone who played it, it might have been like the greatest life-impacting game. It's like, sure, I probably spent more hours playing, I don't know, maybe Counter-Strike might be tied. Who even knows at this point?
Yeah, and Tribes? What about Tribes?
But it's like, DDR probably influenced and had a bigger effect on my life than any other game. And I think a lot of people who were into DDR can say the same thing.
And partly because it's physical, it's a different kind of skill from games like Counter-Strike. You can pretty much just start playing
Counter-Strike
it
is still physical.
But the difference is, when I started playing Counter-Strike again when Go came out, I was not good. Like, not at all. I'm still not great, but I'm not terrible anymore. But you can kind of just pick up DDR and kind of remember how to play, and then you're good to go again. I highly recommend, like, anyone buy the bootleg equivalent of the old Red Octane ignition pad, the like inch-thick foam core DDR
Get whatever
pad.
DDR pad you can get. And
the thin plastic ones require a lot of nuance to work properly, and I found that people who play on those have a lot of trouble when they try to play on the arcade or a better pad.
Yeah.
Unless you do crazy things like we did, where we literally duct tape them to the floor semi-permanently.
Sure. There's also some DDR-ish games that came out, so there's Pump, which is more popular in Korea, I think. which is the same thing as DDR, only instead of 4 arrows that are orthogonal, it has 5 places to step, 1 big one in the middle and 4 in the corners. It's not as good. It has a few good songs. It's just not as good as
Well,
DDR.
you know what the difference is? The format was actually probably better in a lot of ways for like dance moves in terms of the 5 arrows having one in the middle. Well, the 4 arrows plus the middle. But the people who made Pump were not as good at making arrows that matched the song, and the Pump songs were all kind of samey. DDR had a wide variety, and it took them a while. Like, until 4th Mix, the arrows did not match the songs very well.
No.
But from 4th Mix on, whoever it was who was designing those arrows they had come up with a theoretical underpinning, and it's very telling when you play some fan-made arrows versus official ones. The official ones are professionally and expertly made. They fit the music so perfectly. Mm-hmm. It's kind of amazing.
Yep. And then there was In the Groove, which was this weird thing where it was sort of a illegal bootleg deal. But
imagine Stepmania on an arcade machine.
Right, but it's like it was like they made this game. It was just a clone of DDR. They thought they could get away with it. I don't think they did.
Well, the thing is,
they had songs in there, like Machine Supremacy songs were in there.
Well, because
was harmonics involved in this? I don't even remember.
I don't. All I remember is because in Wildwood there were a bunch of real DDR machines and a bunch of those. And in my purely anecdotal experience, the douchebag set of DDR players mostly played that, and everyone cool played the real DDR machines. But those machines, they had harder modes and seemed to focus on, the super hardcore hit every arrow, I'm going to master this game to the exclusion of all the game set. And they kind of disappeared, and they weren't as good in a lot of ways.
Now, you got to realize, people might not know, but DDR is actually just one of a series of games Konami made. Yeah, Metal Gear Konami in the Bimani series. Bimani stands for, is short way of saying Beat Mania, Bimani, Beat Mania. You know, Japan likes to shorten things like that, right? So the first game in the Bimani series was Beat Mania. That's the game with the little turntable and the buttons, right? And then there were also many other games in the series, like Paradise, the guitar one, which got copied into Guitar Freaks.
Yep.
Was the guitar one that was then ripped off to make Guitar Hero.
None of them are as good as DDR in pretty much every regard.
Of all of those games, Poppin' Music, whatever, and there's a whole bunch of new ones now. These days, they got fancy digital crazy things and whatnot, where you wave your hands around and touch screens, and they're all insane.
Well, I feel like most rhythm games today turned into, here's a touchpad, make swiping motions.
Right. Of all of the Bimani and Bimani style games, only DDR was a revolution. None of the other ones.
A dance revolution.
Yes.
Seriously, if you have never played DDR, ask your friends. If you're all gamers, there's probably someone you know who's into DDR and just doesn't talk about it.
Look for someone who was in high school or college in the early 2000s.
Someone in their late 20s to mid 30s. Mm-hmm. They probably play DDR. And if you see one in the arcade, just play it. Just go for it. Go nuts. Don't be afraid of it.
Do not look at DDR and say, man, that is stupid. Right? Just keep playing it.
I was there. We said that. We felt that. We knew it was stupid.
Right. I know a lot. I still know some people who are averse. They're anti-DDR. They don't, they're not into it. It's just let it go. Just do it anyway.
I kind of want to play some DDR now.
I always want to play DDR.
Yeah, but Pat, I got to get ready for PAX.
Maybe there'll be some DDR at PAX.
This has been Geeknights with Rim and Scott. Special thanks to DJ Pretzel for the opening music, Kat Lee for web design, and Brando K for the logos.
Be sure to visit our website at frontrowcrew.com for show notes, discussion, news, and more.
Remember, Geeknights is not one, but 4 different shows. Sci-Tech Mondays, Gaming Tuesdays, Anime Comic Wednesdays, and Indiscriminate Thursdays.
Geeknights is distributed under a Creative Commons Attribution 3.0 license. Geeknights is recorded live with no studio and no audience. But unlike those other late shows, it's actually recorded at night.
Well, Mr. Burns had done it, the power plant had won it, with Roger Clemens clucking all the while. Mike Socha's tragic illness made us smile. While Wade Boggs lay unconscious on the barroom tile. We're talking softball, from Maine to San Diego, talking softball. Mattingly and Canseco, Ken Griffey's grotesquely swollen jaw. Steve Sachs and his running with the law. We're talking Homer, Ozzy and the Straw. We're talking softball.